Chapter 2243. Wang Haoyan blushed. Miss Chu Tian, you haven't been back to Emperor City for 10 years. I guess you're not very familiar with this place. I can show you around. Yun Chu Tian was startled. He pursed his thin lips and said, When I was in the palace, I never stepped out of the palace. The only time I did was when someone tied me to a fire pillar on the street, intending to burn me. She didn't have any good memories in the 4 years she was in Emperor City. Therefore, there was nothing to miss about this place. Wang Haoyan scratched his head. Actually, there are many fun places in Emperor City, and there are many delicious food. Why don't I show you around? Delicious food? Yun Chutian's eyes lit up, and he smiled smartly. Okay, I like sweet food. Wang Haoyan smiled. There's a tea house with good pastries. I'll take you there. Thank you. But, isn't it bad for you to leave Ouyang Yu like this? Yun Chu Tian asked while sucking on his fingers. She came here to destroy Ouyang Yu's happiness, but she couldn't cheat Wang Haoyan, could she? She didn't have a grudge against Wang Haoyan. You don't want to marry her. Wang Haoyan pursed his thin lips. I didn't want to marry her from the beginning. Yun Chu Tian raised his chin. If you don't want to marry her, why didn't you refuse from the beginning? Mother said that if you don't like someone, you can't give them any hope. A marriage made for the sake of making do won't bring happiness to both parties. Wang Haoyan looked at the girl's pretty face in a daze. It was the first time he heard someone say these words. Everyone said that it was the order of one's parents and the words of a matchmaker. In this era, it was impossible to choose the person one loved. Therefore, he listened to his parents' orders and married a woman he didn't love. No. There was a complicated look in his eyes. No one has ever told me this. Yun Chu Tian raised his chin. I'm very grateful to my parents. They gave me a superior life and the best education. Also, they let me choose my own marriage. Wang Haoyan looked at Yun Chu Tian in a daze. He suddenly had a feeling that she must have been very happy during the 10 years she left. Otherwise, how could a little girl who had gone through such an unforeseen event have such a bright and beautiful smile? Then, do you have someone you like? Wang Haoyan's heart was in his throat as he nervously looked at Yun Chu Tian. The young man's incomparably handsome face appeared in Yun Chu Tian's mind. His face was like a peach blossom and his cheeks were blushing. Yes. She liked Brother Nianfeng. In this lifetime, she would only marry him. Wang Haoyan lowered his head in disappointment. So, she already had a man she deeply loved. However, such a cute little girl was not bad to be a younger sister. Wang Haoyan quickly walked out after consoling himself. He smiled and said, Let's go. Didn't you say that you were hungry? I'll take you to eat some pastries. All right. At the mention of food, Yun Chu Tian threw everything to the back of her mind. She giggled and followed Wang Haoyan out of the palace. Emperor City. As the most famous tea house in the imperial city, it had long been overcrowded. Fortunately, Wang Haoyan was the prime minister's son, so he easily got a private room. However, when those people saw Wang Haoyan, who was supposed to be in the middle of his wedding, bring a girl in and out of the tea house, they immediately started discussing. Who is that girl just now? She looks pretty good. Doesn't she know that Wang Haoyan is the second princess's husband? She actually went in and out of the tea house with her. Chapter 2244. Tisk, could this girl be Wang Haoyan's concubine? It said that the concubines in Wang Haoyan's residence are all very beautiful. I wonder if she's one of them. But isn't it inappropriate for him to bring a concubine out on his wedding day? How could a kind-hearted person like the second princess find such a man? Actually, you've all guessed wrong. That girl is also a princess of the royal family. However, 10 years ago, she poisoned the second princess and was discovered by His Majesty. That was why she was burned at the stake. However, she was captured by a dragon at the critical moment. I also heard that the dragon wanted to eat her, but she escaped in the end. The person who said this was obviously an insider. Even what he said was said by the second princess in the Hall of Supreme Harmony. A cousin of mine is on duty in the palace. He told me all of this. Furthermore, according to my cousin, she should have hooked up with Wang Haoyan a long time ago. Otherwise, she wouldn't have purposely appeared today to cause trouble. Moreover, after she appeared, Wang Haoyin just left with her, leaving the second princess alone. Sigh, why would such a beautiful second princess meet such a person? Oh right, she said that she's no longer a member of the palace. Now, she's called Yun Chutian or something. Just as this person finished speaking, a person in white suddenly flashed in from outside the tea house. A hand violently strangled his neck. He was so scared that his face turned pale. When he raised his head, what he saw was a handsome face. The youth was not old, about 15 or 16 years old. His eyes were cold, and his body was enveloped in a layer of cold air. Where is the Yun Chutian you mentioned just now? The person pointed to the private room upstairs. They went to the Ting private room. The youth threw his body down. With a flash of white, he was already on the second floor. He raised his leg and kicked the door of the private room. At this moment, inside the private room, Yun Chutian's eyes were smiling, and she occasionally let out a delicate laugh. Suddenly, the door of the private room was kicked open. She turned her head in shock and instantly saw a handsome youth walk in with a livid face. Yun Chutian stood up in shock and stuttered. "Big brother Nianfeng, why are you here?" Yun Nianfeng's cold eyes swept over Wang Haoyin. He slowly walked in front of Yun Chutian and forcefully embraced him. "My fiancé has caused you trouble." "Fiancé?" Wang Haoyin smiled bitterly. So this young man was the one she liked, big brother Nianfeng. Yun Chutian pouted. "I'm not troublesome." "Shut up." Yun Nianfeng glared at her angrily. He no longer had his usual gentleness. "You left without saying a word. I haven't settled the score with you yet. How dare you say you're not troublesome? If I hadn't pestered my mother to ask about your whereabouts, how long would you have hidden it from me?" Yun Chutian lowered his head and didn't dare to make a sound. He was afraid that he would be scolded if he said anything. "Besides, you're already so old. Don't you know how sinister people can be? You just left with a random man?" Yun Nianfeng sneered. "I didn't." Yun Chutian's voice was weak. She knew that Wang Haoyin couldn't beat her, which was why she dared to come to the tea house with him. It wasn't as bad as big brother Nianfeng said. Yun Nianfeng glanced at Wang Haoyin. "I'm here. You don't need to take care of her anymore. I'll take this girl away first." Chapter 2245. Yun Chutian wanted to speak, but Yun Nianfeng picked him up by the waist and jumped out of the window. On the street, they suddenly saw a young man jumping down from the window with a young girl in his arms. The people walking on the street were almost startled. Even after they left, there were still people who were in a daze. "Miss, what's wrong?" Not far away, the young lady in the yellow dress stared blankly in the direction where Yun Nianfeng left. Her eyes were filled with infatuation, and she didn't return to her senses for a long time. The maidservant behind her asked nervously when she saw the young lady's expression. The young lady in the yellow dress shook her head, but her gaze never left the place where Yun Nianfeng disappeared. Her lips curled into a faint smile. "I've finally found you. Even though nearly 10 years have passed and your appearance has changed, I can still recognize you at a glance." The young lady in the yellow dress closed her eyes, her gaze filled with deep pain. She would never forget how her mother had been framed and killed. She would never forget how her mother had asked her to take revenge. However, ever since her parents were executed, that woman also disappeared. Not long ago, when she had gone on an adventure with her team deep in the mountains, she had lost her footing and accidentally knocked down a door. When she opened the door, she woke up in this world and became the daughter of the Prime Minister. Fortunately, she wasn't feeling well today. She was afraid that it would be inauspicious for the second princess wedding, so she didn't attend her brother's wedding. Otherwise, she wouldn't have found him in this vast crowd. So what if he was the son of her enemy? Ever since she saw him many years ago, she swore that she would only marry him in this life. Even if she didn't take revenge, she would become his wife. At the inn, Yun Nianfeng pushed open the door and threw Yun Chutian onto the bed. Yun Chutian curled up weakly by the bed and said pitifully, "Mother promised me not to tell you my whereabouts. You came to the Sky Emperor city alone. Do you think Mother can be at ease? If you're deceived by a wild man, you'll never be able to return. I won't. Yun Chutian pouted, and her eyes suddenly lit up. Brother Nianfeng, are you jealous? Jealous? Yun Nianfeng's handsome face stiffened. He subconsciously turned his head and didn't look at the girl's bright eyes. I'm just afraid that you've been deceived. Also, I just asked around. That person called Wang Haoyin almost married the royal princess. How could a person who could be so casual about his marriage be anything good? Most importantly, he has a concubine. Perhaps it was because he was deeply influenced by Yun Xiao that Yun Nianfeng naturally wanted to be a couple for the rest of his life. He would definitely look down on a man like Wang Haoyin. Chutian, you're still young. I'm afraid that you'll be deceived. When you grow up, I won't care about you anymore. Really? Yun Chutian got up from the bed and put his arms around Yun Nianfeng's neck. When I grow up, will you let me marry another man? Yun Nianfeng's heart tightened. Although he kept saying that Yun Chutian was too young and that he was afraid that she would regret it in the future, he didn't go further with her. However, if he really let this girl marry someone else, he would probably kill someone. Big brother Nianfeng, just admit that you're jealous. Yun Chutian moved her pink lips closer to Yun Nianfeng's and smiled. But don't worry, I'll definitely only marry you. No other man can compare to big brother Nianfeng. Chapter 2246. Hearing Yun Chutian's words, it would be a lie to say that he was unhappy. Yun Nianfeng's expression gradually improved as he pulled Yun Chutian to sit beside him. Mother didn't tell me the specifics. Tell me first, how did those people bully you? Yun Nianfeng asked gently as he stroked the girl's hair. Yun Chutian turned his head. Actually, it all happened before I was 5 years old. Before I was 5, I lived in the cold palace with mother. At that time, I was very interested in medical skills and even taught Ouyang Yu many medical skills. At that time, only Ouyang Yu came to the cold palace to see me, so I naturally believed her. But the day after that, she used the prescription I gave her to save many people with acute illnesses. In the end, she became the savior of everyone. She was even more afraid that I would expose her secret, so she purposely poisoned herself and framed me. Big brother Nianfeng, do you know that when I first learned medical skills, I went to find the man on the dragon throne, but he didn't believe me. He thought that a 5-year-old child like me couldn't have any medical skills. Moreover, in these 5 years, I didn't come into contact with anyone in the cold palace and didn't learn from a master. So, he trusted Ouyang Yu deeply. Later, the people said that Ouyang Yu was a goddess sent by heaven to save them and that I was a demonic woman who harmed the goddess. That man didn't even investigate and ordered people to tie me up and burn me at the stake. Yun Chutian's tone was very calm. It had been so many years, and she had almost forgotten about those things. She had her father, mother, and big brother Nianfeng now. That was enough. Back then, it was mother and father who appeared and saved me. Otherwise, I'm afraid, I would have died long ago. Yun Chutian lowered her eyes and faintly curled the corners of her lips. Yun Nianfeng's heart ached. He pulled Yun Chutian into his arms and gently rubbed her little head with his fingers. Tian'er, I will protect you. I will also make sure that no one who hurt you is left alive. A murderous intent flashed in Yun Nianfeng's eyes. Although they had been well protected under Yun Luofeng and Yun Zhao's wings all these years, Yun Nianfeng was their child after all. The bloodthirst in his bones couldn't be erased. Especially when Yun Chutian was almost killed. When he thought of this, a wave of anger surged from the bottom of his heart. Big brother Nianfeng. Yun Chutian buried his head in Yun Nianfeng's chest and looked up at the young man's handsome face. I'm already very satisfied now. Father and mother have always loved me as their own daughter. What happens to others has nothing to do with me. She had never treated that man as her father. She only had one father, Yun Xiao. Tian'er, do you know something? Yun Nianfeng's lips curled up. Mother told me this before you came. I've always remembered it. What is it? Actually, mother didn't look for you for no reason. In your previous life, you were mother's daughter. Even though she wasn't your biological daughter, mother was the first person you saw when you opened your eyes. Later on, you even lost your life for mother. She waited for you to reincarnate before she went to look for you. Yun Chutian was stunned. He raised his small face and blinked his eyes. So this is how the fate between me and Mother came about. No wonder I like Mother so much. Chapter 2247. Are you planning to go to the palace or stay here? Yun Nianfeng smiled faintly, his eyes filled with gentleness. Brother Nianfeng, come with me to the palace. I've subdued those people today and they don't dare to act rashly. Moreover, she also wanted to make Ouyang Yu unhappy. Okay. Yun Nianfeng got up and draped a windbreaker over Yun Chutian. Her cheeks were like peach blossoms, pink and lovely. Just as the two of them were about to walk out of the inn, a figure bumped into them. Yun Nianfeng frowned and pulled Yun Chutian to the side. The young lady was caught off guard and fell to the ground. Miss. The maidservants behind her were dumbfounded. They hurried forward and helped the young lady up. They asked anxiously, Miss, are you okay? I'm fine. The young lady in the yellow dress shook her head and looked at Yun Nianfeng shyly. Young master, I'm really sorry just now. I didn't look ahead and almost bumped into you. Yun Nianfeng frowned. For some reason, he did not have a good impression of this young lady. Be careful next time. It's fine if you bump into me, but if you accidentally hurt my Tian, I'm afraid it won't end so easily. Yun Chutian laughed. Brother Nianfeng, what are you talking about? How can I be hurt so easily? You're thin and weak. She's so fat, won't she crush you? Yun Nianfeng glanced coldly at the young lady in the yellow dress, and a trace of disgust flashed across his eyes. He had seen this kind of gaze too many times. Without thinking, he knew that this woman was definitely looking for trouble on purpose. The young lady in the yellow dress's face turned pale at Yun Nianfeng's words. She clenched her fists tightly and forced a smile. Young master is right. Xuelian will definitely not do it again. Her figure was only plump. This kind of figure was rather popular in this place. It could be seen from the young talents who stepped into the Prime Minister's residence. But in his mouth, it became fat? It's good that you know. Let's go. Yun Nianfeng pulled Yun Chutian's little hand and left without looking back. The yellow-dressed girl clenched her fists tightly and took a deep breath. Shaolin, I'll only be a vegetarian from now on. You don't have to prepare any more meat for me. Since he liked slim women, she would lose weight for him. In any case, he would eventually be her man. Also, who is the woman beside him? A cold light flashed across Ouyang Xuelian's eyes as she continued asking. Miss, there was news from the Imperial Palace just now that the 7th princess has returned. However, the young master who was supposed to be at the wedding was abducted by the 7th princess. I also asked around at the tea house just now. That young lady is the 7th princess. Brother has been kidnapped? Wang Xuelian sneered and her eyes were filled with mockery. How can such a fickle woman be anything good? He was really blind to be tossed around by this kind of woman. However, Big Brother abandoned 2nd princess for her, so he must be led by the nose by this fox. Yun Nianfeng was here. Then was her cousin, Yun Luofeng, also here? Unfortunately, she was no longer the little girl in China whose parents had been sentenced to death. She had now become the eldest daughter of the Prime Minister's residence. If she were to see Yun Luofeng here, he would definitely die without a burial place. Of course, if Yun Nianfeng was willing to marry her, she would let Yun Luofeng go. Chapter 2248. Recalling the past, Wang Xuelian gradually returned to the Prime Minister's residence. From afar, she could hear Wang Haotian arguing with his father, Wang Yu. Father, I've said it before. I won't marry the 2nd princess again. Wang Haotian's expression was very firm, and he looked unmoved. Wang Yu angrily slapped him and said furiously, How dare you? You left the 2nd princess on the day of your wedding and embarrassed the royal family. If it wasn't for His Majesty's favor, do you think you would still have a chance to live? Moreover, Yun Chutian will die sooner or later. You will only be a burden if you follow her. Wang Haotian licked the blood on the corner of his mouth. I don't care. I didn't know anything before and did whatever you said. Now, I understand that I can't blindly obey. I want to fight for my own happiness. Shut up. I'm telling you, you must marry the 2nd princess. Otherwise, His Majesty will never let you go. Wang Yu bitterly rebuked. He really didn't know what Yun Chutian instilled in his son that he dared to defy his father and look down on the royal family. This situation must not happen. Father. A gentle voice came from behind. Wang Yu was startled. He turned around and saw Wang Shuelian walking towards him. His tone softened. Oh, what's wrong? Father, I have something to say to my brother. Wang Shuelian smiled gently, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. She looked at Wang Haoyin with disdain instead of respect. She really didn't know how the original owner of this body had such a brother. The second princess was such a good person, but he didn't want her. Moreover, if he married the second princess, the prime minister's residence would also rise. Otherwise, even she would be a burden. Why are you looking for me? Wang Haoyin replied unhappily. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that his sister had changed since she recovered. He remembered that Wang Shuelian used to think for him everywhere. But now, she gave off a very selfish feeling. That's right, selfish. It was as if she had become a completely different person. Okay, you two have a good chat. Wang Yu didn't notice anything. He smiled and patted Wang Shuelian's head before leaving. Wang Shuelian smiled. Brother, I know you like the seventh princess. Wang Haoyin was startled and frowned. She said that she has already forgotten her previous identity. She is now called Yun Chutian, so you better not call her seventh princess. Brother, Wang Shuelian laughed. I just saw 7 on the street. I saw Yun Chutian, and there was a man beside her. Coincidentally, I also know that man. Suspicion flashed across Wang Haoyin's eyes. How do you know Chutian's fiancé? Fiancé? These 3 words fiercely gripped Wang Shuelian's heart. She lowered her eyes, concealing the hatred in them. So he's actually her fiancé. It must be that evil woman, Yun Luofeng, who forced him to marry Yun Chutian. He was definitely not happy about it. What could that vicious woman not do? Big brother, Wang Shuelian raised her head and looked at Wang Haoyin's handsome face. She smiled and asked, do you know who that young man is? What is his identity? I don't know the specifics. I only know that he has a vicious mother. Wang Shuelian's eyes were full of hatred. I met a friend before. When that friend was very young, his parents were killed. The murderer who killed them was Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng only did such a vicious thing to steal someone's property. Chapter 2249. The friend she spoke of was none other than his previous life. If it wasn't for Yun Luofeng, she wouldn't have become an orphan and been bullied for so many years. What are you talking about? Wang Haoyin turned pale with fright. That youth actually had such a vicious mother. If Yun Chutian really married into his family, how could she feel good? Shuelian, what should I do? I can't let Chutian fall into a wolf's den. Brother, Wang Shuelian's lips curled up, secretly give this medicine to Yun Chutian. After you and her consummate, in the future, she will be your wife. Wang Haoyin was stunned and frowned. That's not very good. Plus, Yun Chutian also said that she's immune to all poisons. Immune to all poisons can't be poisoned, but this medicine isn't poison. It's still very effective on her. Moreover, Wang Shuelian didn't believe in being immune to all poisons at all. No, I have to tell Chutian about her future mother-in-law first. Wang Haoyin frowned. He really didn't want to hurt such a beautiful girl. My brother, do you think she'll believe you? A woman in love has a negative IQ. She won't believe you. You can keep the medicine for now. I believe you'll know what's best for yourself. Wang Haoyin didn't understand what Wang Shuelian meant, but he understood that Yun Chutian wouldn't believe him. I have to try. I can't hurt her. Wang Haoyin looked at the powder Wang Shuelian handed over and didn't accept it. Instead, he quickly walked out of the door. Useless thing. Wang Shuelian looked in the direction Wang Haoyin left and sneered. Since you don't have the guts, I'll help you. Her eyes flashed, and the corners of her mouth curled into a determined smile. In those years in Wuxia, she read many novels about transmigration. In those novels, the people who transmigrated were the main characters. Since she was also the main character, Yun Nianfeng must be her destined person. As for Yun Chutian, the so-called fiancé, she was just cannon fodder between them. She would have to leave sooner or later. In the inner courtyard of the palace, Yun Chutian held a pastry and crossed her legs, sitting on the mat without any posture. Her bare feet were small and cute. There was cake dust on the corner of her mouth, and she stuck out her tongue to lick it. Why isn't Brother Nianfeng back yet? She pouted her lips and muttered to herself. Miss Chutian. Suddenly, Wang Haoyin's voice came from outside the door. Can I come in? Although that was what he said, Wang Haoyin didn't wait for Yun Chutian's consent and walked in without asking. What are you doing in here? Yun Chutian stood up from the mat and asked impatiently. Wang Haoyin was stunned. Wasn't everything fine just now? Why did he feel that? Yun Chutian was rejecting his approach now? This feeling made Wang Haoyin a little flustered. I just came to look for you. But Brother Nianfeng doesn't like you. Yun Chutian blinked his big eyes. I don't want to be friends with someone Brother Nianfeng doesn't like. Anyway, Brother Nianfeng's feelings were the most important. Miss Chutun, Wang Haoyin panicked even more. I'm here to tell you something. I heard that your fiancé's mother is very evil and has done many evil deeds. I'm afraid that you'll be kept in the dark and ruin your life, so I'm here to tell you the truth. Yun Chutian was angry. A scarlet light flashed across her eyes and she said angrily, I thought you were a good person. Even if Brother Nianfeng doesn't like you, I don't hate you. But I didn't expect you to speak ill of Mother. Get out of my palace. Chapter 2250. Miss Chudon. Wang Haotian didn't know what he said wrong and went forward to grab Yun Chutian's hand. Who knew that Yun Chutian's palm would directly hit his chest and immediately send him flying. Go away, I don't welcome you. Those who speak ill of Mother are not good people. Get lost. Dragons had a reverse scale. Other than Brother Nianfeng, her reverse scale was also her parents, whom she cared about. She couldn't even say a bad word. Cough, cough. Wang Haotian fell to the ground and coughed out 2 mouthfuls of blood. His face was a little pale as he painfully looked at the angry little face. Chun, what happened? Suddenly, a light breeze flashed in from outside the door. Yun Nianfeng quickly walked to Yun Chutian's side and looked at the girl's red little face. He couldn't help but feel a little distressed. Tell brother, did someone bully you? His gaze swept over Wang Haoyin, who was lying on the ground, and the murderous intent in his eyes was revealed bit by bit. Yun Chutian pouted and said angrily, Brother Nianfeng, get him out. I don't want to see him. Okay, I'll let him go now. Yun Nianfeng's eyes were very cold as he slowly walked toward Wang Haotian. Chutian has always had a good temper and never gets angry easily. You're really capable to make her angry. Yun Nianfeng sneered. Now, are you going to leave by yourself, or should I throw you out? Wang Haotian supported his body and stood up from the ground. He looked at Yun Chutian's little face in despair and finally turned to walk out the door. His hands, which were originally placed by his sides, involuntarily clenched. He took a deep breath to suppress the pain in his heart. This was the first time he liked someone. It turned out that this kind of love was so painful. Wang Haotian didn't walk for long before he saw Wang Shuelian waiting for him not far away. The moment she saw Wang Haotian, a smile appeared at the corner of Wang Shuelian's mouth. I already said that she wouldn't believe you. How is it? Do you need my medicine? Wang Haotian's body trembled and he closed his eyes. I don't want to hurt her. She already hates me very much. Hating you is only temporary. When she discovers Yun Luofeng's true colors, she will only be grateful to you. At that time, you will be a loving couple. Will you still remember your past mistakes? Wang Shuelian smiled. You should know that if you don't help her today, perhaps her whole life will be ruined. Wang Haotian was silent. After a long time, he raised his head and said, She doesn't welcome me anymore. I can't drug her either. You don't have to worry about this. I've already ordered someone to drug him. When the time comes, I'll find someone to take Yun Nianfeng away. You can go in. She didn't want Yun Chutian to take advantage of her, so she had to make Yun Nianfeng leave. Otherwise, wouldn't her man's first time be taken away by this wild woman? Regarding this matter, Wang Shuelian still had a very deep concept. In the future, Yun Nianfeng's first time had to be given to him. Similarly, he could only have her as his woman. She would never share her husband with anyone else. All right. Wang Haoyan opened his eyes. I agree. As long as she won't be deceived, even if I hate her, I'm willing to do it. Just wait to marry your beautiful wife. Wang Shuelian smiled proudly. In this place, no one could beat her. It was nighttime. The moonlight was like water. Yun Chutian quietly stayed in the palace. Perhaps the people in the palace were afraid of her, so no one came to disturb her. Even the second princess didn't appear. Chapter 2251. Seventh Princess. A palace maid walked in with a plate of pastries. This is the water chestnut cake you wanted. I said, don't call me seventh princess, Yun Chutian said with dissatisfaction. Just call me Miss Yun. Yes, Miss Yun. The palace maid lowered her head and didn't move. Yun Chutian pouted and said impatiently, you can leave first. The palace maid bowed and retreated. Only Yun Nianfeng and Yun Chutian were left in the entire palace. Brother Nianfeng, there's something wrong with that palace maid. After the palace maid left, Yun Chutian's little face immediately darkened. Yun Nianfeng turned to look at the girl beside him and asked, what's the problem? I told the palace maid of the Green Mist Palace during the day not to call me seventh princess. You can only call me Miss Yun, but that palace maid obviously called me wrong. Yun Nianfeng raised his eyebrows and asked with a faint smile, maybe she forgot? No, Yun Chutian shook his head. I've lived in the palace for 5 years, and I know the rules and regulations. As a palace maid in the palace, she would never make such a low-level mistake. So, the palace maid just now is not from Qinglan Palace. Could she have been sent by my second sister? Yun Chutian had chased away the original palace maids of the Green Mist Palace. Instead, the Cold Palace found some to serve her. However, even the palace maids of the Cold Palace wouldn't make such a low-level mistake. Yun Nianfeng glanced at the pastries in front of Yun Chutian. There's something wrong with these pastries. Hearing this, Yun Chutian also took out a piece of pastry and put it under his nose to smell it. Aphrodisiac powder. As soon as these 3 words fell, the two's expressions changed. I originally thought that Ouyang Yu wanted to harm me, but now that I think about it, Ouyang Yu knows my abilities. It's impossible for her to harm me. Plus, it's not poison but aphrodisiac powder. Aphrodisiac powder was an aphrodisiac. Ouyang Yu had no motive to drug her at all. Wang Haoyan. A name appeared in Yun Nianfeng's mind, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Yun Chutian was stunned. It can't be him. He said that he treats me like a little sister. Chu, I'm a man. You have to believe my feelings. The way he looks at you is very different. It's like how he looks at his lover. So, he has a motive to do this, Yun Nianfeng explained very seriously. Then, what should we do? Do you want to expose him? I have a way. Yun Nianfeng smiled mysteriously. Tell me where Ouyang Yu's palace is. Oh. Yun Chutian grunted and stroked his chin. What does Brother Nianfeng want to do? Of course, it's to help him achieve his goal. Who asked Wang Haoyan to spy on Chutian? Then he would make sure that he would never have the qualifications to do so. What's more, he was the one who drugged her, so he had to pay for his actions. Inside the side hall, Ouyang Yu was planning to rest. Suddenly, a figure rushed in from outside the door. With a bang, the figure hit Ouyang Yu's head. She immediately lost consciousness. Yun Nianfeng looked at the woman on the ground with some disdain. He thought for a while and picked up the blanket at the side to wrap Ouyang Yu's body. Then he found a rope and tied it to the blanket. He used the rope to drag Ouyang Yu away. Fortunately, those patrolling people were knocked unconscious by him, so they didn't meet anyone along the way. When he arrived at Qinglan Hall, he threw Ouyang Yu inside. Chapter 2252. Brother Nianfeng, should we hide here and watch? Yun Chutian's eyes lit up like a cunning little fox. Yun Nianfeng's face darkened. Let's go outside. Wait. Seeing Yun Nianfeng stretch out his hand, a glint flashed across Yun Chutian's eyes. He smiled and took out a bottle of spiritual liquid. This is an aphrodisiac that I used to concoct with Mother's spiritual medicine, but your acacia powder is much stronger. I'll feed it to her now. After saying that, she slowly walked forward and carefully fed the spiritual liquid into Ouyang Yu's mouth. Although Ouyang Yu was unconscious, the spiritual liquid still flowed into her body. After a while, her body began to heat up, and her breathing became heavy. Brother Nianfeng, let's go. The effect of this spiritual liquid is very strong. If you stay, she'll definitely pounce on you. Yun Chu Tian clapped her hands and walked to Yun Nianfeng's side. She forcefully hooked his arm. You're mine. I don't want to give you to another woman. After so many years, Yun Nianfeng was already used to Yun Chu Tian's confession from time to time. He felt warmth in his heart, but when he thought of the spiritual liquid in Yun Chu Tian's hand, his face darkened again. Shouldn't you explain what's going on with that spiritual liquid? Yun Chu Tian blinked and asked with a confused gaze, I don't understand what you're saying. You're still pretending. Why do you have such a thing on you? This. Yun Chu Tian carefully looked at Yun Nianfeng. I wanted to let you drink it, but I didn't expect Ouyang Yu to benefit from it. Yun Nianfeng's face darkened. I said that when you're 18 years old, if you're still determined to marry me, I'll marry you. Wasn't he just afraid that this girl was too young and would regret it in the future? At that time, wouldn't he harm her for the rest of her life? Brother Nianfeng, I know what I want. Yun Chutian's eyes were very bright as she looked up at the handsome youth in front of her. I'm also very determined in my heart. As long as you're willing to marry me now, I'll immediately marry you. I won't regret it for the rest of my life. Are you sure? Yun Nianfeng narrowed his eyes and pulled Yun Chutian into the bushes at the side. His body pressed tightly against her. You really won't regret it? As if sensing the sudden change in the young man's aura, Yun Chutian's heart was a little flustered. Although she had prepared this medicine, she didn't have the guts to try it. Why did the current Brother Nianfeng make her feel so scared, as if he had taken drugs? Brother Nianfeng, it's not too late to regret it now. Yun Nianfeng's lips curled into a smile as he looked at the girl in front of him seriously. Yun Chutian's heart trembled. She looked up at the young man's eyes and pursed her thin lips. I want to marry you. From the very beginning, she had wanted to marry him. All right, you've already confirmed it. If I don't do something, what kind of man am I? Yun Nianfeng lowered his head. I gave you a chance to regret, but you didn't cherish it. In the future, even if you regret it, I won't let you go. He pressed Yun Chutian's body tightly and fiercely kissed the delicate lips below. His kiss was so forceful that Yun Chutian's eyes were filled with tears. She wanted to struggle, but the young man's strength was so great that she couldn't resist. This feeling made Yun Chutian panic. Her fingers clutched the soil on the ground tightly as she looked at the young man in front of her pitifully. Chapter 2207. Brother Nianfeng was such a gentle person. Was he so violent at a time like this? Chu Tian. After a long time, Yun Nianfeng finally let go of the girl below him. In the future, I won't let you go. You can't leave even if you want to. Yun Chu Tian nodded. She suddenly thought of something and said pitifully, Brother Nianfeng, can you not kiss me so hard? It hurts. Yun Nianfeng then noticed the girl's red and swollen lips. A trace of guilt flashed across his eyes. Sorry I hurt you. I'll be more careful in the future. He's here. His gaze shifted, and he hurriedly pulled Yun Chu Tian up from the ground and held her in his arms. Both of them looked forward. Under the moonlight, Wang Haoyan's footsteps were somewhat hurried as he quickly pushed open the door of Green Mist Palace. Seeing his appearance, Yun Chutian's expression was very disappointed. It's really him. Now you already know what kind of trash the men outside are? Yun Nianfeng raised his eyebrows, implying that the men outside were all bastards, and only he was the best. After a while, moans came from inside the house. The sound pierced through the night and resounded through the clouds. It also made Yun Chutian's face turn red as he tightly pulled Yun Nianfeng's sleeve. Brother Nianfeng, should we leave for a while? No need. Yun Nianfeng smiled and thoughtfully covered Yun Chutian's ears with his hand. You won't be able to hear it this way. Indeed, without those sounds, Yun Chutian's expression became much better. She looked at Yun Nianfeng curiously and asked, Brother Nianfeng, don't you think that this sound is very, very piercing? She really did not know what words to use to describe it, so she said this. The corners of Yun Yanfeng's mouth twitched. What could he say? Was he supposed to tell Yun Chutian that he was immature when he was young and often hid under his parents' bed with the maidservant and listened to them for an entire night? If this matter was known by this girl, who knew how she would laugh at him? I automatically blocked this sound. Yun Yanfeng raised his lips and looked at the lights coming from the corridor not far away. It seems that this sound is too loud and attracted other people. That's good, it saves us trouble. Of course. Yun Chutian raised his little head proudly. Don't you know who concocted the spiritual fluid? How could Ouyang Yu withstand it? Yun Yanfeng's ear lovingly scratched Yun Chutian's little nose. When mother comes, I will tell her what you have done. You can also explain why you concocted this medicine. Yun Chutian's face was sullen. Brother Yanfeng, don't tell mother. I know I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. You really won't dare to do it again? Really? More real than pearls? Yun Chutian hurriedly nodded. This matter must not be known to mother. Otherwise, mother would punish him to memorize those boring books again. Yun Chutian suddenly came back to his senses and asked, Oh right, you just said that mother is coming? You are mother's goddaughter, her future daughter-in-law. How can she not come to support you? But Yun Chutian was a little depressed. Didn't mother promise me to take revenge myself? The promise is temporary. If she didn't promise you back then, you would definitely find an excuse not to go and find a time when no one knows about it. How can she support you then? Yun Yanfeng smiled. Mother wants everyone to know that you are her daughter and that the people in Sky Emperor City will not dare to look down on you anymore. Chapter 2253. Hearing this, Yun Chutian's mood gradually improved. Brother Yanfeng, then, don't tell mother that you kissed me just now. If mother finds out, she'll definitely hold a wedding for us immediately. At that moment, Yun Yanfeng's face darkened. Didn't you say you wanted to marry me? Are you going back on your words so soon? He bit Yun Chutian's lips again and said fiercely, I won't give you this chance. I want to marry Brother Yanfeng, but once we get married, we have to consummate our marriage. Yun Chutian's face was a little pale. They said that it will be very painful during the consummation. I'm afraid. Don't be afraid. I'll be careful. As soon as Yun Yanfeng said this, he felt that something was wrong. Why did he and Yun Chutian already talk about consummation? Sure. Yun Yanfeng sensed the approaching footsteps and whispered, They're here. The person leading was Ouyang Sun. His expression was very ugly, and his eyes were filled with coldness. He didn't believe it when he heard that Wang Haotian sneaked in. Now that he heard the sound from the room, his face darkened even more. Wang Xuelian, are you sure that Wang Haotian is in Yun Chutian's room? Ouyang Sun took a deep breath and said coldly, It would be fine if it was someone else in the room, but why did it have to be Wang Haotian? He was going to marry Ouyang Yu, but it was ruined by Yun Chutian. Now that they were together, how could the royal family save face? Your Majesty, I also heard from my brother that Yun Chutian sent him a letter at night and asked to meet him. I think my brother can only belong to the second princess, so I went to your Majesty to clarify this matter. But my brother is innocent, and I hope your Majesty can let him go. Wang Xuelian's face was filled with undisguised anxiety, but when no one saw it, the corners of her mouth curled into a smug smile. Yun Chutian, you're no longer a virgin. Let's see how you can still seduce my man. Ouyang Sun's face turned cold as he shouted sternly, Guards, break the door open. 2 guards stepped forward and kicked the door open. The room was pitch black, and they could only faintly hear 2 blurry figures in front of them. Light the lamp. As Ouyang Sun's words fell, a eunuch took out a lamp from behind and placed it on the table. However, after seeing the scene in the room, everyone was stunned. Wang Haotian's eyes were filled with fear. Perhaps he didn't expect Ouyang Sun to come at this time. Just as he was about to say something to the woman under him, he suddenly found a seductive face. Startled, he hurriedly separated his body that was still joined together and quickly retreated. How could it be you? Ouyang Yu's eyes were like silk. She twisted her body and stood up from the ground. Her clothes were torn, revealing the love bites all over her body. Oh, I want more. She rushed towards Wang Haotian, as if she did not see the group of people who had rushed into the room. Wang Xuelian was also stunned. Why was the woman inside not Yun Chu Tian, but the second princess? I want it, give it to me. Ouyang Yu pulled Wang Haoyan's sleeve and stuck her body to him. Wang Haoyan was so shocked that he shook off Ouyang Yu. His face was ashen. Why are you the one in the room? Where is Lady Chutian? Just as he finished speaking, a burst of laughter suddenly came from behind. Are you looking for me? Wang Haoyan hurriedly turned around and saw the young boy and girl squeezing through the crowd and squeezing in from behind. Chapter 2254. Yun Chu Tian crossed his arms in front of his chest and smiled as if he was watching a good show. Miss Chu, listen to my explanation. Wang Haoyan was anxious and wanted to pull Yun Chu Tian's hand. But before he could reach Yun Chu Tian, he was blocked by the young man. Get lost, don't touch Tian or with your dirty hands. Wang Haoyan took a few steps back and almost fell to the ground. He looked at Yun Chu Tian in despair and saw the disgust in her eyes. Even before this, she didn't hate him so much. Slap. Ouyang Sun stepped forward and slapped Ouyang Yu's face. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Ouyang Yu gradually came back to her senses. At that moment, all the things that happened before floated in her mind. Ouyang Yu's face turned pale as she screamed, "Ah! How could this be? Why was she here? Why did she do such an immoral thing?" Ouyang Yu's entire body trembled. She caught a glimpse of the gloating girl beside Yun Yanfeng and suddenly pounced over. It's you, it must be you. Did you bring me to this place and let Wang Haoyan do that to me? Yun Chutian's eyes were blank. What are you talking about? Aren't you and Wang Haoyan husband and wife? I walked to the door just now and saw you and Wang Haoyan walking in. I thought you were going back to your Qinglan palace to consummate your marriage with him. I was kind enough to let you have the palace for one night, but you repaid my kindness with ingratitude. Ouyang Yu's face turned red with anger as she glared at Yun Chu Tian. She knew that after this night, her reputation would be ruined. All of this was Yun Chu Tian's doing. Yun Chun, I won't let you off. Ouyang Yu turned to look at Ouyang Sun. Father, I was fine in the palace just now, but I was knocked out. I don't know what they fed me, but I became like this. So, I concluded that someone must have framed me. Her eyes were fixed on Yun Chu Tian, and the meaning behind her words was obvious. Who would frame her? Other than Yun Chu Tian, there was probably no one else. Ouyang Sun also thought of this and coldly looked at Yun Chu Tian. Perhaps Yun Chu Tian's methods scared him so much that he didn't dare to say another word. Brother Nianfeng, bring me the thing I asked you to find. Yun Chu Tian smiled and extended his hand to Yun Yanfeng. He raised his eyebrows and looked at the pale Ouyang Yu. All right. Yun Yanfeng responded and took out a yellowing book and handed it to Yun Chu Tian. When Ouyang Yu saw that book, a trace of panic flashed across her eyes. Why did she hide it so well? How did this brat find it? Yun Chu Tian ignored Ouyang Yu's panicked eyes and raised his eyebrows to look at Ouyang Sun. Now, I'll show you Ouyang Yu's true colors. What do you mean? Ouyang Sun frowned and asked coldly. As Ouyang Yu's father, you should be able to recognize her notes. Take a look. Are these books written by Ouyang Yu herself? Yun Chu Tian blinked his eyes and handed the book to Ouyang Sun. Ouyang Sun was stunned and shook his head. No. He could still recognize his daughter's notes. This handwritten book wasn't written by his daughter. Then, do you remember the medicinal herbs needed to treat the plague back then? Yun Chu Tian casually flipped through a few pages. She didn't even look at them and flipped to the required pages. Is it these? Chapter 2255. Ouyang Sun looked at the book handed over by Yun Chu Tian in surprise and frowned slightly. I remember that it's indeed these herbs. Yun Chu Tian smiled. She took the book back and said, First, you said that this isn't Ouyang Yu's notes. Second, you said that these are the herbs used to treat illnesses. Then, can Ouyang Yu explain the problem with this book? A hint of panic flashed across Ouyang Yu's eyes. Imperial Father, this book was given to me by my master, but my master doesn't like others to know about it. That's why he doesn't allow me to tell anyone about him. What she said was reasonable. After all, Ouyang Yu was young back then. It would be very reliable if she had a master behind her. Your master? Yun Chutian's eyes were full of smiles. I don't know where your master is. I'll go and invite him out. I also have a few medical questions to consult. Ouyang Yu suppressed the irritation in her heart and glared fiercely at Yun Chutian. No one understood Yun Chutian's medical attainments better than her. When she was young, she already had such powerful medical skills. Now that many years had passed, she had improved even more. If she found someone else, she would be easily exposed. Thinking of this, Ouyang Yu calmed herself down. My master is really not someone you can see whenever you want, so you'd better not do this useless thing. It's okay. You know my strength. The one beside me is my brother. He's stronger than me. As long as you tell me where he is, I'll immediately invite him out. Anyway, she had already made up her mind to expose Ouyang Yu. Ouyang Yu bit her lip. No, if you do this, it will bring disaster to the entire royal family. My master is very powerful. You can't provoke him. It's okay. Even if I provoke him, it's my own business. If he gets angry, he'll be angry at us. I'll never expose you. Can you tell me now? Ouyang Yu was so angry that her pretty face turned red. Yun Chun, do you really want to go against me? Yun Chutian blinked his eyes innocently. I just want to see your master. How am I going against you? If your master isn't shameful, why aren't you willing to say it? Or is it that your master's status is too low? Nonsense. Ouyang Yu's brain twitched as she said, my master is one of the two true gods of the continent, Yun Luofeng. You won't be able to see a person of this level in your entire life, and you still want to see her. Ever since she was young, Yun Chutian knew that Ouyang Yu couldn't be provoked. Once she was provoked, she would say anything to prove herself. But what Yun Chutian didn't expect was that Ouyang Yu actually claimed that her master was Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng? Ouyang Sun frowned. Yun Xiao? What? He suddenly realized why the name Yun Xiao sounded so familiar to him previously. Wasn't he one of the two true gods? Yun Chutian's father was a true god? This was just a coincidence. If the father that Yun Chutian recognized was really a true god, then she would have come back for revenge a long time ago. Even if she came now, she would definitely bring a group of experts with her. It was impossible for her to go alone. Therefore, it must be someone with the same name. Wang Xuelian was also shocked. One of the two true deities, Yun Luofeng? How was this possible? How could she be a true god? Chapter 2256. He was bullied by her in Wuxia, and now that he came to the mainland, he was also bullied by her? What's going on with Yun Luofeng? She deliberately lowered her voice and asked the palace maid behind her. The palace maid replied, Yun Luofeng is one of the real gods in this land. He is the ruler of this world. He has been famous in this land for decades and everyone knows him. He even broke through to real god realm 15 years ago. That's right. Famous decades ago? Broke through 15 years ago? But Yun Luofeng had only been missing for 10 years in Wuxia. So, this woman they called a true god couldn't be the Yun Luofeng she knew. At this moment, Wang Xuelian didn't know that Yun Luofeng had indeed come to this mainland decades ago, nor did she know that she left the mainland and returned to Wuxia 10 years ago. It was because she didn't know anything that she made such a low-level mistake. I'm dying of laughter. Yun Chutian clutched his lower abdomen and laughed so hard that he couldn't straighten his back. Brother Nianfeng, this woman actually told such a lie, huh? Ouyang Yu's face paled. In fact, she regretted it the moment she said it, but there was no turning back. She could only bite the bullet and continue, what you can't do doesn't mean that I can't do it. My master already said that I'm the most talented disciple she's ever seen. People like you don't even have the right to look up to her. Yun Chutian's eyes curved into a crescent moon. Then, have you seen her? Of course I have. Even though it was on a portrait. This portrait was something that his father had painstakingly obtained in the past. His goal was to prevent himself from accidentally provoking this terrifying woman, so he had memorized her appearance in his heart. Of course, someone with Wang Xuelian's identity didn't even have the right to get a portrait, so she didn't know Yun Luofeng's status in this mainland. Yun Nianfeng's expression was ugly. This was what he encountered. In places he didn't, How many people used his mother's name to act like a tyrant? Perhaps some people's actions had even ruined his mother's reputation. Your Majesty. At this moment, a guard walked in from outside the door and said a few words in Ouyang Sun's ear. Ouyang Sun's face lit up, and he suddenly burst into laughter. Yun Chun, don't be in a hurry to find trouble with my daughter. You should worry about yourself first. My royal elder has already come out of seclusion. Tonight will be the night of your death. Really? Yun Chutian smirked and hooked Yun Yanfeng's arm. Big brother Yanfeng, these bad guys are bullying me. How do you think I should deal with them? Yun Yanfeng lovingly caressed Yun Chutian's head. Do whatever you want. Whether it's me, father or mother, we will all support you. His smile was very dazzling, and his doting expression made Wang Xuelian, who was standing to the side, feel jealous. She wanted nothing more than to tear this woman into pieces. Who asked her to snatch away the man that belonged to her? When Ouyang Sun saw the smile on Yun Chutian's face, he snorted coldly and said sternly, Go and invite a few elders here. Tell them that someone wants to attack our imperial empire. Yes, Your Majesty. A guard cupped his fists respectfully and retreated. Yun Chutian didn't stop him. She came to solve the problem once and for all. Since the elders of the royal family had come out of seclusion, it was time for her to take revenge. Chapter 2257. Boom. A clap of thunder rang out in the pitch-black night sky. Almost at the same time, a voice even louder than thunder came from the night sky. Who is so bold to cause trouble in my Sky Emperor city? Yun Yanfeng gently rubbed Yun Yanfeng's head and smiled. I'll settle the matters outside. You can stay here. Brother Yanfeng. Yun Chutian pouted. Didn't you say that I'll take revenge myself? I'm afraid that those people will dirty your hands. Yun Yanfeng's tone was full of pampering. His eyes were so gentle that it could drown a person. Yun Chutian looked at Yun Yanfeng's handsome face. Brother Yanfeng, why do I feel that you're more and more beautiful? You're as beautiful as father and mother. I like Brother Yanfeng the most. Yun Chutian was affected. Whether it was Yun Luofeng or Yun Xiao, they were both so good-looking. Growing up in such a family, she must be very picky about appearance. As for why she liked Yun Yanfeng, it was because her brother Yanfeng was good-looking. Other than her father and mother, no one could compare to him. Yun Yanfeng's handsome face turned red. Wait here for me for a few seconds. I'll be back soon. After saying this, Yun Yanfeng left the room in a flash. Shameless. Wang Xuelian's expression changed. She really didn't expect this woman to say such disgusting words, especially to her man. Yun Yanfeng didn't leave for long. Just as he said, he walked back again after a few seconds. His handsome face didn't change. After coldly glancing at the people in front of him, he turned his gaze to Yun Chutun. They're just a group of ants. I've already dealt with them. Ouyang Sun's expression suddenly changed. He shouted sternly, Why aren't the elders here yet? He would never believe that a young man who was still wet behind the ears could defeat a few elders. Your Majesty! The guard who came to report rushed in again. This time, his body was trembling and his face was full of horror. Your Majesty, those elders are already dead. Boom! Like a bolt from the blue, Ouyang Sun was dumbfounded. Everyone in the palace turned pale and looked at Yun Yanfeng in horror. Impossible! Where did this young man come from? Who does he have this kind of strength? Yun Yanfeng, Yun Luofeng, Yun Xiao. The combination of these three names reminded Ouyang Sun of what Yun Chutian had said before, and his eyes were filled with astonishment. Did Yun Chu really acknowledge Yun Xiao as his father? Wang Haotian stood up in a daze. His handsome face was pale as he looked at Yun Chutian and Yun Yanfeng. His lips trembled as if he wanted to say something, but he couldn't. Young Master Yanfeng. Yun Yanfeng's fingers were gently stroking Yun Chutian's hair when a gentle voice suddenly sounded from the side. He frowned and glanced coldly at Wang Xuelian who was standing in front of him. It's you again, fatty? Wang Xuelian clenched her fists tightly. She was only slightly more than 110 kilograms. This was just plump, not fat. But Wang Yanfeng actually kept calling him fatty. Mr. Yanfeng, my name is Wang Xuelian. She took a deep breath and said, "Big brother Nianfeng." Yun Chutian's two slender arms wrapped around Yun Nianfeng's neck and smiled. "I've really never seen such a shameless person. You've already humiliated her like this, but she still pretends that nothing happened." No matter how thick-skinned Wang Xuelian was, her expression changed slightly after hearing this. Anger flashed in her eyes as she looked at Yun Chutian. This roar was so earth-shattering that everyone in Heavenly Imperial City ran out. Ouyang Sun's face was pale. His eyes flashed with panic and he quickly ran out of the palace. Seeing Ouyang Sun go out, the others also ran out of the door and looked at the huge white dragon in the void in astonishment. "It's him!" Ouyang Sun recognized this dragon at a glance. It was the one that kidnapped Yun Chutian back then. He still remembered that there was a woman in white standing on the white dragon. However, the woman's face seemed to be covered by a layer of white mist. In addition, he was busy running for his life, so he didn't notice the woman's appearance at all. The white dragon stayed in the void, and the white light on its body shrouded the entire night. Chapter 2259. Ouyang Sun was shocked. He didn't understand why the white dragon was there. "Your Majesty, there are two people on the dragon's head." Suddenly, one of the eunuchs screamed, his voice trembling. Only then did Ouyang Sun see the two people clearly. The woman's white dress fluttered, and she was as beautiful as a painting. The man standing beside her was dressed in black, and he was as cold as an eagle in the night. However, when he looked at the woman beside him, there was a hint of gentleness in his eyes that was hard to detect. The two of them were as perfect as an immortal couple. They were so stunning that people couldn't take their eyes off them. Swoosh! While everyone was still in shock, the two of them had already leaped down from the white dragon's head and landed steadily on the ground. Ouyang Sun's gaze changed from the initial shock to astonishment as he stared at the beautiful woman in white. "You're Miss Yun Luofeng? The person who caused an uproar in the entire mainland?" Yun Xuelian's lips were trembling. She took a few steps back and shook her head. She was so shocked that she couldn't say a word. Even after 10 years, she would never forget this face. But in 10 years, many people had aged and she had grown up. Why was this woman still as young and beautiful as she was 10 years ago? Her face didn't change at all. What was even more difficult for Yun Xuelian to accept was that this woman was only riding on a dragon. Moreover, from Ouyang Sun's words, she could tell that Yun Luofeng was the real god they were talking about. Not the same name? How could she accept this fact? "Mother!" Yun Chutian couldn't help but laugh when he saw Yun Luofeng. His body flashed and he rushed into Yun Luofeng's arms, raising his cute face. "Mother, you're finally here." "Mother?" Ouyang Sun's face twitched. He felt as if his heart had been punched by a heavy fist, and he almost couldn't breathe. Ouyang Yu was even more shocked. She had never seen Yun Luofeng in person, but she had seen the portrait, and the portrait was exactly the same as the woman in front of her. But why was this powerful woman Yun Chutian's adoptive mother? "Father, mother." Yun Nianfeng also walked forward with a smile on his face. His words were even harder to accept. Yun Chutian was only an adopted daughter, but this youth was Yun Luofeng and Yun Zhao's biological son? But what did they just do? He actually wanted to lay his hands on the true God's son? "Are you tired of living?" "Mother, I have something to ask you. When did you accept a disciple?" Yun Chutian pouted his tender little mouth and asked coquettishly. Yun Luofeng was startled. "Did you forget that I have a disciple? I was planning to arrange the marriage between little Mo and little Bai during your wedding with Nianfeng. Did you forget about little Bai?" "Mother, I'm not talking about little Bai." Yun Chutian pointed at Ouyang Yu with his chin. "Just now, this woman said that she's your disciple and that you wrote this book. In fact, she tricked me into giving it to her." Ouyang Yu's face had already lost all color. She really wanted to faint, but her mind was very clear, so she couldn't even faint. Yun Luofeng casually flipped open the book that Yun Chutian handed over and smiled faintly. "Most of the answers in this book are correct. Only a few questions are wrong." Chapter 2260. I was only 5 years old at that time, and no one taught me. I learned medical skills by my own efforts. Yun Chu Tian stuck out his tongue. But I know these questions myself. Didn't I ask you later? I already know what to do now. Yun Luofeng nodded in satisfaction. I'll keep this book as a souvenir. Their conversation was nothing more than an indication of the true owner of the book. Ouyang Sun's face was livid. He turned around and stared at Ouyang Yu angrily. What the hell is going on? Didn't you say this book was given to you by your master? Your master or Miss Yun? Explain it to me now. Plot. Ouyang Yu was so frightened that she knelt on the ground, her body trembling. Imperial Father, your daughter knows she was wrong. Please forgive me. Forgive you? How can I forgive you? Ouyang Sun closed his eyes in pain. If it weren't for Ouyang Yu, he wouldn't have treated Yun Chu Tian as a demoness and burned him to death. He would not have missed the chance to strike up a conversation with two true gods. Yes, the last sentence was Ouyang Sun's real thought. The emperor was heartless. How could he really care about his daughter? He only cared about himself. Chu Tian. Ouyang Sun looked at Yun Chu Tian again, and his tone softened. Back then, it was father's fault for wronging you. Now that you're back, father will treat you well. Yun Chu Tian smiled disdainfully. I remember that you wanted to burn me to death back then. If it wasn't for mother who saved me, I would have died a long time ago. Moreover, the people of the heavenly imperial city have been spreading rumors that Ouyang Yu is a goddess and that I'm a demoness who came to harm the goddess. I'm afraid that these rumors are all thanks to your imperial palace. Ouyang Sun's face became paler and paler. He clenched his fists tightly and felt remorseful. Goddess? Demoness? Yun Luofeng smiled faintly. Rumors stop with the wise. It seems that the people of Heavenly Imperial City are so stupid that there's no need for them to exist. However, there is one thing that is correct. There is indeed a goddess in the Heavenly Emperor City. It is just that the goddess is Chu Tian. She slowly walked towards Ouyang Sun. If you had treated Yun Chu Tian extremely well during those 5 years, the Heavenly Sovereign City would have risen in the future. It was you who sacrificed this opportunity. Ouyang Sun raised his head and looked at Yun Luofeng's calm expression. His eyes were filled with regret. Do you know why I took Chu Tian away? Yun Luofeng's lips curled up in a devilish smile. Because Chu Tian's previous life was my daughter. She died protecting me. I waited for her for 5 years before I found her in Imperial Emperor City. I never imagined that you would treat my daughter like this. Ouyang Sun closed his eyes. He regretted it. If he had known that Yun Chu Tian and Yun Luofeng had such a relationship, he would never have made such a mistake. Unfortunately, there were no ifs, nymph. Yun Luofeng turned to Yun Yanfeng. Chu Tian will be your wife. From now on, you will protect her. Don't let anyone who harmed her in the past go. Even if you burn down the entire Sky Emperor City, you must make those foolish people pay the price. She couldn't believe it. If she had been one step late back then, would she have been separated from Yun Chu Tian again? So, how could she forgive those who had hurt her? Even if it was just those people who were making a fuss, she would not let any of them off. For example, she had dyed the imperial city with blood just to stop those people from humiliating her mother, Bai Yen. Since the rumors couldn't be stopped with gentle means, she didn't mind being cruel. Chapter 2261. Don't worry, mother. I won't let the people who hurt Chu Tian live. Murderous intent flashed in Yun Yanfeng's eyes. 10 years ago, Chu Tian was only a 5-year-old child. Could you imagine the despair this 5-year-old child felt when she was tied to a pillar and about to be burned at the stake? However, those people didn't even bother to verify it and just humiliated her so much. He would never forgive the people who hurt her. Hearing this, Ouyang Sun's body went limp and he collapsed to the ground. His eyes were filled with despair. He knew that everything was over. You're Yun Yanfeng's mother? Wang Haoyan looked at Yun Luofeng blankly. His gaze was complicated, regretful, and angry. Of course, the anger was directed at Wang Shuelian. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and looked at Wang Haoyan. Who are you? Mother. Hearing Yun Luofeng's question, Yun Yanfeng stood up and said, this guy wanted to give Chu Tian medicine, but we saw through him. In the end, we threw Chu Tian here to fulfill his wish. Medicine? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes, his murderous intent shooting out. But Wang Haoyan was very regretful. I was wrong. I'm willing to admit what you want to do to me. It's just that I did it for Miss Chutian's sake. Now that I see how much you love her, I'm relieved. Wang Haotian's lips curled into a bitter smile. His eyes swept towards Wang Xuelian. At first, she was the one who told me that you killed the parents of a friend she knew. Furthermore, you stole her friend's family's property. But now that I know your identity, I understand that you disdain stealing other people's property. The funny thing was that he was actually glad that Wang Xuelian had made such a big mistake. Yun Luofeng's gaze slowly turned towards Wang Xuelian, who was hiding behind the crowd. A cold light flashed across his eyes. What's her name? Wang Haotian replied, Wang Xuelian. Wang Xuelian? Yun Luofeng sneered. I think it's Yun Xuelian. Wang Xuelian panicked even more when she heard this. How could she recognize her, Yun Xuelian? Everyone was stunned and turned to look at the flustered Wang Xuelian. Yun Xuelian? Yun Tianqi and Li Tsue's daughter? Yun Chutian immediately jumped up and said angrily, I didn't expect you to come to this continent from China. How dare you slander my mother? When did my mother seize your family's property? My mother's parents in Wuxia were killed by that pair of bitches. They robbed my mother of her belongings and kicked her out of the house. Now you're making false accusations. The others didn't understand Yun Chutian's words, but they understood one thing. Yun Xuelian was not Wang Xuelian? Wang Haotian looked at Yun Xuelian in surprise. His eyes were filled with shock. I should have guessed it. My sister was such an obedient girl. How could she have changed so much? The funny thing is that I never suspected that you weren't my sister, so that's how it is. Everything makes sense now. She just didn't know if her father would be able to take it after knowing about this. That's not right. Wang Xuelian shook her head desperately. Her face was pale. The situation shouldn't be like this. I'm a transmigrator. In some stories, the transmigrator should be the main character. Since I'm the main character, I should be glamorous. Besides, in most stories, the betrothal is just a stepping stone. Why was it different when it came to her? If you hadn't been stupid and stayed in China, you might have been able to keep your life. Since you're courting death, don't blame me. Chapter 2262. Yun Yanfeng sneered and his lips curled up. Mother, Chu Tian is tired. Take Chu Tian to rest. I'll take care of things here. I don't want Chu Tian's hands to be dirty. Chu Tian was such a beautiful and cute girl. How could he bear to let her hands be stained with blood? These things should be done by him as a man. Okay. Yun Luofeng's lips curled up. It seemed that their relationship developed very quickly during this trip to Sky Emperor City. Chu Tian, let's go first. Nianfeng will come back later. Yun Chu Tian turned to look at Yun Nianfeng. Brother Nianfeng, I'll wait for you at the inn. There was no need for her to stay in this palace anymore. That night, many people in Sky Emperor City were awakened from their dreams. Especially when they heard the heart-wrenching screams coming from not far away, their hearts were filled with fear. No one knew what had happened. The next day, they found out about the massacre that happened in Sky Emperor City last night. None of those who had hurt Yun Chutian were left alive. Wang Xuelian also died miserably. In order to reunite Wang Xuelian's family, Wang Nianfeng sent her soul directly back to the underworld of Wuxia. When she saw Li Tsuei and her husband suffering in the 18 levels of hell, she cried and wanted to leave. However, it wasn't so easy to leave after coming to the underworld. Because of this, Wang Xuelian hated Li Tsuei. If it wasn't for Li Tsuei's words, perhaps she wouldn't have made such a big mistake. It was so good to be the daughter of the Prime Minister. Why did she have to court death by provoking Yun Nianfeng and Yun Chutian? However, no matter how much she regretted it, it was too late. The 7 Continents. A storyteller was narrating what happened not long ago in a tea house. The people around him were listening with relish. It said that the 7th princess of Sky Emperor Kingdom was really talented. At the age of 5, she was able to learn medicine without a teacher. Unfortunately, she was harmed by a scoundrel. Not only did the 2nd princess steal her credit, but she was also framed for poisoning the 2nd princess. This caused the seventh princess to almost be burned to death. Oh? Then how did she survive? Someone asked. The storyteller smiled. It's a long story. Just as the seventh princess was about to be burned at the stake, a godlike woman rode a divine dragon and rescued the seventh princess from the execution ground. That godlike woman was the ruler of our continent, Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng? Why did Yun Luofeng save her? I heard that Yun Luofeng's standards are very high, and there are very few people who can catch her eye. Hi, you don't know about this. The seventh princess is Yun Luofeng's daughter from his previous life. Yun Luofeng searched for her for a few years before finding her reincarnated in Sky Emperor City. Otherwise, why do you think he would save a girl he doesn't even know? The storyteller waved his fan. His eyes were filled with longing. I also heard that the seventh princess, who has changed her name to Yun Chutian, is childhood friends with Yun Luofeng's son. They are in love with each other and will soon get married. What a wonderful story, the crowd praised. Only Yun Luofeng's godlike son was worthy of a peerless beauty like the seventh princess. Yun Luofeng's son, young Master Nianfeng, is deeply in love with Yun Chutian. When they went to Sky Emperor City, the daughter of the Prime Minister wanted to throw herself into his arms, but she was humiliated by young Master Nianfeng. In his eyes and heart, there is only Yun Chutian. Isn't there a saying that those who are doted on are always fearless? This saying can't be more appropriate to describe Yun Chutian. The storyteller shook his head. The people around him also praised, but they didn't notice that the two people they were talking about were sitting below and listening with great interest. Hey! Yun Chutian knocked on a melon seed and turned to look at Yun Nianfeng. Brother Nianfeng, they said that only you are worthy of me. Yun Nianfeng curled his lips. Isn't that so? I want to escape from the wedding in a few days. Yun Chutian gathered his courage and said. Yun Nianfeng's face darkened. What did you say? Brother Nianfeng, isn't there a kind of wedding in Wuxia called a wedding on a trip? I don't want to hold a wedding banquet. Let's have a wedding on a trip too. Ever since she went to Wuxia, Yun Chutian learned a lot. Although she rarely went to Wuxia now, she would occasionally miss the delicious food there, and she would beg Yun Luofeng to bring her there. As for the wedding on a trip, she only learned about it then. Seeing that Yun Chutian didn't want to marry him, Yun Nianfeng's expression improved. I'll listen to you. We'll do whatever you want. Brother Nianfeng, you're so good to me. Yun Chutian leaned on Yun Nianfeng's shoulder and smiled excitedly. The storyteller just said that those who are doted on are always fearless. No matter how willful and spoiled you are, it doesn't matter too much. Anyway, I'll dote on you and I'm willing to clean up your mess. As long as you're by my side forever, that's enough. He didn't ask for much. Her company was enough. Really? Yun Chutian's eyes were very bright. Then let's go and write a divorce letter to father and mother right now and tell them that we won't be holding a wedding. Let's go and fulfill our marriage obligations. Sure. Yun Nianfeng's smile was warm. In this lifetime, he was willing to let her do as she pleased. As long as he doted on her, it was enough.